Sighted people recognise a button based on its appearance, like these 3 lines, for example. From experience, we know that this is a navigation area. So a glance is enough for us to understand the purpose of the button. We also deduce the meaning of large or bold font quite easily. We know that it usually signifies a heading, or, for example, marks an especially important paragraph in a longer text. This type of information is part of the field of semantics. The term derives from the Greek, and it loosely translates to the study of meanings. Rich semantics serve all readers, particularly in the context of learning. Sighted people gather the meaning of a button or a text element from visual cues, and people who rely on a screen reader, blind people or individuals with low vision, need buttons, headings and their structures to be identified as such by their screen reader software. So the various components or specific regions of the digital material must be correctly and concisely labelled. And the way to do this is to use the templates and tools provided by your software. In other words, do not rely on what your text looks like, but on how it's marked up. For example, in Word or web editors, do not make a heading look like a heading by using a larger font and boldface. Instead, mark it as a heading and rely on the templates to make it look nice for sighted people. Or when you want to make a list, don't use symbols as bullets and indent by hand. Instead, mark it as a list. Only then can the screen reader software recognize a list as a list, a heading as a heading, and a navigation area as a navigation area. In addition, the semantic information enables the elements and regions to be navigated directly. If this isn't the case, things get confusing quickly. In this case, people who rely on a screen reader must work a lot harder to try and understand learning content.
And you can imagine a situation where the material that you're trying to understand may be hard enough to comprehend cognitively. Just may be hard stuff to learn. It's absolutely exhausting when it's also hard to understand what's being said or what's being presented. And for people with sensory impairments, they're going to be working doubly hard to try to keep up.
And by the way, did you know that in the early days of the web, digital interfaces came with good machine readability? Tim Berners-Lee considered accessibility when he invented the World Wide Web. Unfortunately, things got rather messy when sites were built for looks rather than function. Today's web can do both. Have an enhanced semantic structure using what's called HTML5 and cascading styles that make those simple, straightforward tags look nice. It isn't your job, of course, to make the web accessible again. Your task, though equally important, is to design comprehensive learning material which is accessible for all your students. And you can let modern editing software do that for you, as long as you tell that software what a piece of text is, instead of forcing it to look a certain way.
Taking such examples, thinking that making accessible is not only a requirement, but it's an opportunity. It is something that will expand your reach and make your classes more successful and more useful to everyone.
And I think that's a reminder for all of us, certainly for me, but maybe useful for other people as well, to consider that something which might be, it takes extra effort on your part. It's a bit tiresome. You don't particularly want to do it, but it might be the most important thing in that person's day, and on a daily basis, the most important thing in that person's life, for them to be able to achieve and enjoy life exactly as other people do. So that is why I'm absolutely committed to making teaching and learning as inclusive as possible.
So next time you create learning content, focus on the logical structure of the digital document and make it explicit by means of format templates. While this is essential for some, it's useful for all your students, as well as for yourself.
We're all aging, we're all growing older. And as we grow older, we sometimes also develop age-related impairments. We see less, we hear less, we're able to move less, we remember less. So if you want to be able to use your own materials in many years from now, maybe you want to make it accessible.